we'll get going. I got a lot to show you. If you're interested in anything that deals with talking directly to APIs with PowerShell, I know there's been a couple other sessions where they've talked about similar things. So if I'm regurgitating something and you're just totally bored, I don't, feel free. This conference is pretty wide open in terms of being mobile and being able to attend all kinds of sessions. So, all right, let's kick this thing off. My name's Mike Nelson. I'm a tech evangelist at Pure Storage. And that's how you can reach me if you want to. And yeah, I haven't had pecs like that since high school. But, all right. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun doing this. So just a refresher, for folks that haven't worked with APIs in a while, APIs, when you query them, you're looking at a couple different methods of talking to APIs. You're doing get, post, put, delete, or patch. So when you're talking to an API, those are the operations, what they call methods, that you can perform against an API. All right. Oops, back up before I get to that. The request and response structure. So when you do a request, you get a response, right? That's how it works. So you can do a get, you do a request, you get a response, you do a put, you do a delete, you do a patch. You're going to send a request and you're going to get a response back. Status codes 404. You will get status 404s, Like I say up there, APIs, they have shitty days just like everybody else. You get a lot of things you'll notice. You won't notice when, you're like in the middle of an automation or something, but when you're online and you're ordering pizza and through an app, and then you're going like this, that app is just talking to an API because it fails and says, well, we can't check you out, we can't deliver your pizza, we can't do something like that. That is an API failure, okay? And authentication. If APIs work off of security, tokens, good APIs. Bad APIs, I can't talk about or vouch for them. But if you don't have a token, you really can't get into it. Now, if you're saying to yourself, well, I know I can use APIs, like I will show you in demonstrations, that do not require a token. Don't require me to put in an API token. That's because they're self-serialized, okay? APIs will just allow you to pass, and talk to it without requiring you to actually spell out an API token. And they're kind of like self-signed certs, if you want to think of it that way. So, all right, so bonus points. Anybody knows what that is? Come on. Nobody recognizes that logo at all, huh? The boar with the octopus tentacles or anything? Okay. So when I talked about access, it's kind of like the same thing that Monty Python, The Dark Knight, none shall pass. Okay? It's not like Gandalf in the Rings where he says, you cannot pass. It's in the book. I'm telling you, it's not. In the movie, it's different. But in the book, it says you cannot pass. APIs from a security structure, when you start getting into vendors' APIs, they become really hardened, and they should be by default. So you want to take that into account when you're talking to APIs via PowerShell. All right? And the reason why I say that is because of what I'm going to talk about next. So why you use PowerShell? You have native commandlets, the invoke REST method and the invoke web request. All right? That's the reason why I was talking about security, and I'll show you that in a sec. It has very efficient JSON handling, obviously, right? Because we love objects, and we can convert them to JSON, export them to JSON, input JSON, all kinds of stuff with JSON. Powerful data manipulation via pipelines, of course, and built-in error handling and logging. I'm not saying anything you don't already know, probably. So would you pick REST method or web request? So I know that one of the sessions they had earlier in the week, he was really focused, I think it was Matthew Gill, I'm not sure. He was really focused on using web request instead of invoke REST method. So can anybody tell me why you would use one or the other? One over the other? Yeah, well, yes, that's part, yes. That is correct. Yeah, that is correct. Anything else, though, you can think of right off the top of your head? No? All right. So the big thing is it parses JSON to objects. Okay? So it actually takes the JSON and converts it to objects. And it's really quick and easy, right? So REST is the way if you just want to talk REST, raw REST, directly to the API, you want to use the REST method. But in case you want to get a whole bunch of more information, you want to use web request. All right? So web request can talk HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, and file directly to an API endpoint. Okay? It can also do it to any other object or any other resource that's available. You can, combine calls together, make a call to an API, make a call to another web service, another web app, however you want to do it. So web request is really more flexible, but it gives you raw responses. It's not in a JSON formatted or, object formatted response. All right. So just some tips real quick. Secure your creds. I can't tell you that enough, especially when we're working with APIs. The thing about it is that sometimes you're granted keys, and those keys get used by somebody else. If you're charged for that usage, that API usage, you get hijacked, whatever. That can lead to a really bad day. You want to validate your API responses. Just ran into a situation where someone had built an automation around reporting metrics, and what they did was they actually, created all this code and did all this stuff, but they never validated the actual responses. All right, they saw some of the output, they threw it into Grafana, but they never really looked at the data that was being returned. So you need to look at that before you actually publish your code or give it out or something like that. Jeff may have even referenced it in his last session. You want to be sure that you're doing your due diligence on your code. Don't forget your error handling and some takeaways. So, because I'm going to get right into demos. I don't have enough time. All right, PowerShell excels in API automation. Everybody can say it at once? No, duh. All right? We all know that. And you don't need the kitchen sink and response, right? So if you don't need that, if you don't need everything, use REST method. And then friends, don't let friends automate blindly. That's kind of a given. And then please give feedback for this session. We really appreciate that. All right. That was pretty good. I took up 10 minutes. Cool. Okay. Switch over here. All right, so what I got going on here, for those of you who don't know, this is something, I've got my phone here on the right-hand side. Yeah, that's my dog. Good go. Everybody says that she's having a 420 day. Yeah. Gnarly dude, But yeah, it's great to see her. Anyways, what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you some really basic API requests using PowerShell and using both invoke and both web requests. And then I'm going to get into some things that are combined, where you do PowerShell and maybe Python together, where you're doing a PowerShell command and then you're doing a curl in Python for all those Python people. So when you're talking about automation with APIs, you don't have to just use PowerShell. You use whatever you need to accomplish the goal. And that may be something that's outside of PowerShell. But usually, if you can just query an API directly, you're going to get everything you need, right? Maybe not. All right, so first of all, I'm going to do something really quick, right? So we do something called looking at the use REST method. And all I'm going to do here is use REST method, and it's going to give me an output of a joke, right? So I click here, and it basically just came back and gave you the response, all right? There's nothing funky there or anything like that. It just takes the JSON, accepts the header of the JSON, and then boom, that's what you get. What was the joke? As I get older, I think of people who lost a long way. Maybe a career in a tour guide wasn't fun. All right. Okay, so then we're going to try a web request with the same thing, with the same service, the same API. And we do that, we get the same output again. I should say we get another joke again. You can see it on the bottom there. Someone asked me what's the 9th letter of the alphabet. It was a complete guess, but I was right. Okay. Uh, I didn't make it up. But you notice how that's formatted, right? So you're actually taking that information. This is web requests now. You're getting raw data. And in order for you to interpret it and report it out the way that you want to for your application or just to the user, you have to convert it, right? So you're taking that, you're converting it from JSON, and then you're writing the output. Okay? All right. So that's just showing the difference, a real simple difference between web request and REST method. Now I'm going to go out and do something called get weather. You're wondering, why does this guy have his phone and his dog up on the screen? Is because what this is going to do, this is going to go out and just pull a weather report. And it's going to send a pushover. If anybody uses pushover, it's right directly to my phone. So it's going to get in the Seattle weather, and you can see it just popped up on my phone. I can go over to pushover. There you go. I don't want that. It's going to open up my garage door. I don't want to do that. I'm not clicking fast enough. All right, so I go to pushover once it opens up. And you can see here, I got the weather for Seattle. It just came up on the screen on the right-hand side there. These other things are from anybody in my session yesterday? Yeah, remember those? The LLM responses for my camera? Pretty cool. All right. So I'll kill that and I'll make this bigger. Okay, so now that we've done something really simplistic with the weather, we're going to take something like a daily brief, okay? So this daily briefing will basically go out and it'll give me a whole bunch of information, all right? If you notice, everything it's doing is just invoke REST method, invoke REST method, invoke REST method, okay? And it's going through each one of these and doing that call. So what you're doing is you're taking a simple little script and you're making it go out and call API, call API, call API, call API, call API. Is that really efficient? Is that something that you should do? I see some people going like this. It isn't efficient, but sometimes it's the only choice, all right? Because you're calling multiple APIs. There's really no way to batch them if you're doing it. I'm calling the weather service. I'm calling a joke service. I'm calling a random quote service. I'm doing that. They're all different APIs. Now, if you're talking to a single API, batch those calls, all right? You can batch API calls so they all get sent at a single time, and it's just going through an actual array and returning all that information. That is the most efficient way to do it if you're talking to a single API. Okay, so this is going to go out, and this really looks like crap inside of this little terminal because it gives you a lot of data. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to execute it from here. We got to be in the right directory. There we go. That's, what was that, get daily? Not the password leak. What was the name of it? What did I call that? Daily brief. Come on. What did I do wrong here? Get daily brief. Oh, damn, I even put that on there so I would know what order to do it in. There it is. Okay. So when you do this, it's going out and it's getting you weather, it's getting you technology headlines, and then it ends up giving you a dog photo. It goes out and pulls one of those. All right? Big on dogs, huh? Oh, yeah, okay. So the point I'm trying to make here is that I am making multiple calls, okay? And while not effectively efficient in the coding, it gets what you need done. Sometimes you just have to do what to get to the goal that you need to get to. All right? Okay, so going back over here. I'm doing good. All right, so from here I'm going to go and I'm actually going to get a little bit different kind of a dashboard. That's going to be 03. Remember that? All right. So what this is going to do is kind of do the same thing, but it's actually going out and it's talking to my internal API on my machine. Cool, huh? So you actually can go external and internal. So if you have a whole bunch of data, you'll be able to pull it. If you're on like a server OS and you're running and you can talk directly to your own API, but then you can go out maybe to, traverse the network and come around to the Dell DRAC, go out to the switch, go out to the router, go out to whatever, can supply you information via API. And you can accumulate all that data into a single dashboard, into a single pane of glass, however you like. But again, you're automating with the APIs. You're just going out and pulling that information and being able to produce it in a way that you want your users to be able to use it. All right. Yeah, we get down to the prod dashboard. Now, we can do a hybrid dashboard. Now, the hybrid dashboard is something that has curl in it as well. So that's going to be 04. Remember that. But I'm going to show you the code here real quick. So if you take a look at the hybrid dashboard, you see I actually have the Python here. All right, so it's just doing that curl by doing an API underscore dashboard.py file. And if I bring up that file, there it is. You can see it's actually going out and going to a public IP, and then looking at, where is the ISS? Where's the International Space Station now? That type of thing. All right, pulling out all that information and getting that output as JSON. All right, so you're combining two languages together. If you're familiar with like the Polyglot, they've been talking about Polyglot notebooks. You can do multiple codes, and I wanted to do this in Polyglot, but everybody here at the conference that's been showing Polyglot notebooks has had a really tough time without proper, internet. So I wasn't going to mess with that. But it's kind of doing the same thing, right? You can do multiple languages within a single block. All right? APIs don't care. They literally do not care what you talk to it. They're just there to give you information. That's it. All right, so if we run that, we'll see if it actually works, which hopefully it will. System uptime, 2167. It's thinking. Come on. Oh, it got me on the convert from JSON, the API data. Why? Oh, it actually did the Python though. No, it didn't. It bombed out on the Python. Oh, can't open. Oh, it says it can't open the file. The file's right there. PowerShell API, error number 2. Dude, you are catching, you are on it. You are totally on it. Wow, okay. So yeah, I didn't change that, 05 actually. So I had to put 05. So if I go, I don't want to do that. I got 5 minutes left. If I actually go out here and I change this to 05, see what happens when you want to make things easy and you make them harder? Let's see if that does it. Yep, there we go. I even got my random cat backed. Claws on a cat's back paws aren't as sharp as the claws on the front paws because the claws on the back don't retract. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. All right. The last thing I want to show you is I actually made a Go module. So anybody here programming Go? Wow, really? Oh. It's not too much of a stretch from PowerShell. So, or Python and PowerShell, kind of mixed. Anyways, what I did was real simple. Basically going out and creating a Go module that will execute API calls for me. And I made it basically API call.exe. So you create a Go module, you tell it what you want it to do. In the function main here, you can actually see where it's actually going out and it's doing the URL and it's sending any methods that you want to send to the API, what the request is, what the endpoint is, okay? And then once you do that, it comes up with a nice little executable called this API call.exe. Excuse me. And then what we can do is we can execute against that. All right, so I have here, my API call. And I'm going to, I actually did the formatting. Let me see. All right. So if we look at API call, anybody familiar with Come on, you can do it. There it is. Okay, so yeah, who knows what Camino is? Damn, right on top. All right. Yeah, so this is basically using something called swappy.dev. If you don't know what that is, that's a complete database of the anything Star Wars. All right, and it's actually a free API, so you can query against it. It's great for demoing because nerds love it, we can talk about it. I'm waiting for somebody to come out with a Rings API for free. That thing would probably be like miles long, but it'd be cool. So, so what the point I'm trying to make here is you can actually, in a really simple executable, really simple Go module, you can compact everything. So what I could have done is I could have said, this is how you get your API. This is what you send to the endpoints, okay? And then put it inside of an executable, and then you can give that executable to anybody. And all they need to do is just put in that API call.exe and then the URI of the API. Boom, you're done. That's all that needs to be done, okay? So I've got 2 minutes left. Any questions? Yes? Go ahead. So I go through all this API stuff, yeah. And the question is how do I get my phone screen up on? Yeah, okay. Well, with Windows now, you have something called the Windows Phone. You have the phone app. So it'll automatically connect Bluetooth to your phone, and then you can display your screen and display your messages and everything else on your screen. This little app right here, they call it Phone Link. So I can get my notifications, my calendar, all that kind of stuff. My calls, you can even make calls from here. So glad I could be a little Microsoft tech support. Does anybody have any other questions? About life, about dogs, about, yeah.
Why would you use Go versus making PowerShell?
Okay, so the reason why I use Go is because I like Go, number one. But number two is Go is much more flexible. Python is a language that's like, if you think of Python, Python is like the language that is driving the old 75 Thunderbird. Okay, it's been around forever. All right, and there have been improvements to it, but it still has the old structure to it. Go is a much more modern language, and it's to me it's much easier to define functions and things like that within Go. So it's really a choice. Maybe somebody knows JavaScript or TypeScript or something like that in the audience. That might be easier for you. But for me, Go is just a little bit easier. To be honest, I mean, it's always a dilemma because one of the things that you hit is with API calls is you hit a character limit. All right, anytime you do a command line, anytime you do a browser call, there is an actual definite character limit. Oh, and I'm out of time. And I'm trying to turn off the alarm and it won't turn off. There definitely is a character limit to it. But to answer your question, there are some methods to do that. I'm happy to talk to you about it offline. I got to go because Joe is waiting to come up on stage. Thank you very much.